Welcome to Queendom Perspectives with Nina Michelle. My name's Nina Michelle, and I want to welcome you all to my YouTube channel. I want to welcome any first-time visitors to my channel. I just want to tell you that this is a channel that will produce Christian content, and I want to thank you for stopping by. I just want to send blessings and thanks to you for stopping by. Also, for those of you who have already subscribed to my channel, giving me a like, a comment, a subscribe, a shout out, email, a note, anything, I definitely want to send thanks to you. I am so thankful and so grateful. I also want to send a special thanks and shout out to my watchers from Nigeria and Ghana. When I look at the YouTube logistics, it shows me that those two countries are two places that I have lots and lots of watchers and a lot of subscribers from there. So I want to just give a special shout out to all the persons from Nigeria and Ghana that have been rocking with me and showing me love. Thank you so much. And my last announcement is I just want to apologize that I have pretty much been off the grid for the whole summer. I have not been producing YouTube content faithfully and regularly throughout the summer. And I do apologize for those delays, but I am back. I am back, and you will be able to look forward to content on a regular basis. But I do have to pick up where I left off. So within my last video, I did say that I would cover financial abuse next within narcissism. So when you're dealing with a narcissistic person, financial abuse is definitely going to occur. It could be amongst friends, it could be amongst family, but definitely when you're in a romantic relationship or romantically involved with someone that's a narcissist, you are going to encounter financial abuse in some form or fashion. So let's get into today's topic. So first, let me start with today's scripture. It is Proverbs 19:4. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. So once again, that's Proverbs 19:4, King James Version. If you want to go read more about that book. Proverbs is an awesome, phenomenal book of wisdom. I love that book. So I just want to say, money is one of the main tools that narcissists use to keep you in bondage. Financial dependency is the first sign. So I will just say sign number one, financial dependency. That's where they're intentionally withholding financial support that they could provide for you, and they're seeking stability at the same time. Typically, this is someone who may have few or limited resources, and they can do things like live in a constant state of unemployment. This person may not have been financially stable before you met them, or even independent. They just, kind of pretend and play it off like things were good, and they're just going through a little bit of a tough time. One thing I will tell you is that your problem will never be their problem. Anytime you're dealing with a narcissist and you're being abused financially or any sort of abuse, your problem is not their problem. For ladies, I always want you to remember that the weight of the world is not supposed to be on a woman's shoulders. It's supposed to be on a man's shoulders. Typically, men are supposed to carry the burden and the heavy weight of their family. So if you are carrying all the heavy weight and all the burdens of all the bills and every single thing in the house, that's out of order. So I just want to give you that sign. Also, they typically have an airtight story or excuse for how their lack of stability will temporarily be solved. And with a little help from you, their situation will be better and they'll be back on their feet in no time. It's usually some kind of story or something that they come up with just to convince you that if you just help them this once, they'll be good. They'll be good. They won't need your help anymore, which is not true. Also, I would just say that this sign, within sign number one of financial dependency, this can consist of job hopping, chronic unemployment, underemployment, and more. They typically have bad credit, evictions, could have repossessions, and a lot of times persons, I'm going to say the ones that have low resources, narcissists with very low to limited resources, they typically suffer from chemical dependency habits as well. So those are another thing to evaluate. Everyone that has a chemical dependency issue is not a narcissist, but I'm just kind of sharing that these are some of the traits that tend to go hand in hand when someone would like to take advantage of you and abuse you financially. Also, it's really important to just make sure that when you are getting into a relationship, do not allow people to ask you for large favors too soon when you just met them. Like, if you just met someone, they really shouldn't be asking you for large favors. You really have to be very careful about that. Also, when you don't allow someone to ask you for large favors too soon, this will allow you proper time to figure out if their situation is temporary or if it is a lifestyle. Because if it's temporary, you're going to see things get better for them. You're going to see this person restored. You're going to see a whole new person. But when it's a lifestyle, it's always going to be a habit. It's going to be a pattern. They will always be in lack. So they'll always be asking you for something. That's another way that you're able to identify this is a lifestyle and not just a temporary situation. Also, narcissists abuse you financially by not contributing. They thrive in not contributing and withholding resources to the household in an equitable way. Also, I would just say that even if they have access to resources and money, like let's say they work and, let's say they even make decent money, but, it just goes really fast. I will just say that their money will always be for them and their resources first, always. And when they share, it typically will be smaller things such as things that they equally benefit from. They might help with some of the bills. It could be things like food, gas money, smaller bills, just anything. Like it could be the internet bill, the phone bill, stuff that they equally and mutually benefit from. Those are the things that they're more willing to invest into. But sometimes they won't invest into the cost of housing. Some of them like to freeload and they want to, basically lay on your couch or sleep in your bed for free. That's a whole nother topic. But one thing I will say is that they will often watch you struggle to balance and maintain a household alone at times, which is really bad. Also, when they do have money, it can be very mysterious for them. And what I mean by that is unless they are like begging or asking for your assistance, you never know when they have money. These are people that are so mysterious with their money. You never know. It's like you can't say, oh, I think this person has money. They can afford to pay for themselves, or actually, I think they don't have any money. You never know with them. And even if you tell them, well, hey, you should have money, you just got paid, they're going to have an airtight excuse and a long story of why they don't have it. So I just wanted to give an example real fast. And also, I just wanted to say that your blessings will become their blessings because they get to benefit from the hand of God in your life. So especially for you Christians out there, that the blessings are rolling in for you. God is always, blessing you. He's got his hands on you. They get to benefit from those blessings that roll into your hands. So I just wanted to give an example. I would just say that I was in a relationship quite some time ago, and I call it a bad romance. And this relationship, to be honest, really, really broke me down. And I mean, broke me down to nothing. So one thing I would say is that this person I met, he was from out of state. So he moved up here from the south up to the north. And one thing that I will say is he did not have a strong work ethic. He had a really, really poor work ethic at the time. And it's like he just barely worked. Even prior to us meeting, I didn't realize that he had already been fired from 3 jobs consecutively for job abandonment. I didn't realize that he had a really bad track record with work. And I just thought, oh, it's just where he's at. Maybe it's because he doesn't want to be in that place anymore. He didn't want to be in that small town. I thought, well, him coming to Minnesota, he'll have a better opportunity. There's much more, job opportunities here. So all I could say to you is that even though he came here and, to move with his family and we were in a relationship, I just had no idea that the work ethic was what it was. And what I could say to you is that I was very, very patient and kind, and I really understood that it takes time for a person to get on their feet and get acclimated. I was like, everybody doesn't get a job in 2 weeks. Some people do and some people don't. So I was really patient. I even had my family helping him to search for job leads. Like my mom at the time was kind enough to like take him to interviews, take him to go apply for jobs. This is when we were still doing more stuff in person. Now everything is pretty much virtual. You do everything online. But at the time you still had to do legwork in person. So one thing that I would say is that, however, most of the times he just was not able to land the job. So even if he got the interview, he wasn't able to land the job, unfortunately. And then when he would eventually secure a job, he secured a job that was really below his earning potential. It was like a part-time job, and it wasn't something that would adequately contribute to my household. So at the time, I had allowed this person to move in against my best judgment. So this is, after they had stayed with their relative, they had pretty much, kind of burnt their bridges with a few other people that had allowed them to stay. And my place was the last option for them, and against my better judgment at the time. And I would just say, definitely, I was not seeking God like I should have for his advice and his guidance. So please don't hold the past against me, but at the time I wasn't in my right mind when I had this person staying in my home. What I could say to you is that he was working part-time. He was not contributing to my household. He was not bringing his money home to help with the bills, the rent. Maybe he would help with some food, sometimes some gas money or something of that nature, but he was not pulling his weight as a man, not within my home. And when he would get his paycheck, it's like he didn't hand me any money. It wasn't for me. And basically the problem was I wasn't putting my foot down. I wasn't saying like, you can't be here, you can't stay here if you're not going to contribute equitably. I really thought that well, if he could just get on his feet for himself, he could just get his own place. So I had it in my mind that I didn't want to take his money because I felt like, well, if I take his money, then he won't be able to get his own place. So I just was like basically just taking all kinds of subpar treatment. I was in jeopardy of losing my apartment. I was in jeopardy of losing my car. I was in jeopardy of the lights being turned off. I was in jeopardy of a lot of things and in dire need, but this person would not come to my beck and call. What he would do when I would tell him what was going on, it's like he would beat me up about it and just make me feel real bad. Like, you got yourself into this. It's your fault for not paying your bills, or it's your fault, that you didn't have the money. But it's like the other part of him wasn't thinking about, I don't have the money because I'm raising a child as a single parent. I got to take care of myself, all these expenses, and I'm taking care of you full time. So like that never occurred to him that, I was in jeopardy because I was taking care of a grown man when that shouldn't have been my responsibility. Also, I would just say at the time, this person had sustained a small injury at work on the job, and they decided not to go back to the job. They opted to just, stay home and remain unemployed and receive those benefits. So all I could say to you is that basically things, were going from bad to worse because I didn't have their financial support. Whatever money and resources they attained, it was always for them. It was never for me or the household. And I just kept hoping that he would, do well enough to be able to get on his feet, to get his own place and to be able to get his own things. That didn't happen either. So I just want to kind of encourage you all, like, be real careful with people when they're financially dependent on you. Don't allow someone to be financially dependent on you, even if it's been 6 months, a year. If you're in a relationship with someone, a loving, healthy relationship, they really shouldn't be financially dependent on you. So that's why I wanted to start with that sign. Okay, so within sign, the last part of sign number 1, I explained in a previous video that in my previous video about narcissistic verbal and emotional abuse, I explained how narcissists steal your voice when you're in a relationship with them. And typically when you are in a relationship and your voice is stolen, you don't have the courage to stand up for yourself. You don't have the courage to take a stand. You don't have that courage to just say, you know what, I'm not taking this no more. You're not contributing. You don't have anything to give to this household. You have to go. or you're not helping me, you're a liability here, instead of an asset. We don't have the courage to say those things. And that's really, I'm talking to someone that's in a relationship, that they feel like they love the person, they feel like they really care, but that person is not providing for them the way they should, and they don't know what to do about it. So that's why I'm saying, if you feel like you just don't have the courage, it's because your voice has been stolen, and you have to get your courage and your voice back. You got to take your power back. Sign number 2, uses money as a weapon. This is when narcissistic persons purposely withhold resources from you to punish you and humble you and make you beg. And the key component here is they want to make you beg. They want you to be so desperate that you are begging for their assistance, and they still won't help you, even after you get through begging. So this is typically when you've been very vulnerable and fully transparent with the person. You could have told them your situation, you've shared your financial scope, you've made your needs known, so they are aware of what you lack. They are aware that this bill is getting ready to come up. They are aware that you couldn't pay the light bill this month, or they're aware of whatever is coming up in your life. So it's not like it's a secret. You've been very transparent, but that need is like falling on deaf ears, basically. So one thing that I will say is, typically within this sign, the person will become cheap and selfish for no reason, without reservation. And they will know that you have a need, but purposely not help you meet it. So for example, you could just say to them that, my daughter will need some money for this end of the year school trip or a celebration of some sort. When it's time to give you the money, you will have to persistently ask. They will pretend as if you never asked them about this in advance. They will, when it's time to give that money, they will come up with excuses. They'll have a last minute excuse, and then they will basically just make excuses to why they can't meet that need. And even though you were like, hate to say, foolish enough to depend on them, right? Also, they will do things like create a crisis. They'll create a crisis where you must make a choice. So it'll be, well, I can help you with the money you needed for the school trip, but I'm not gonna be able to pay the bill. The light bill is promised too. You're gonna have to choose which one you want to go with. So they do little things like that. So it's like a money game. So it's like, they know that they might have promised you, when payday comes, I'm gonna pay the light bill. When payday comes, I'm also gonna give you that money to help with our daughter's school expenses, or like I said, celebration. They will create a crisis that makes it where you have to make a choice. So you can't get both items. It's like you can't get a 2-for-1. You're going to get, if you even get one thing, you're lucky. And even though they promised it to you in the first place, they find a way to make sure that they don't keep those promises. Also, they like to make you beg for needs to get met if you are depending on them. It does not matter what the agreement is. They won't hold up to their end of the bargain. Once again, I'll just say this. They will not hold up to their end of the bargain. It does not matter what agreements you all have made. So do not trust their words at face value. Do not believe that they're going to come through with everything that they said they're going to come through with. It's very hard to trust them. Also, like, let's say you all could be shopping at a mall, or you could be attending a fair, or eating at a restaurant. They tend to become very selfish and kind of like a moocher. They like to keep their money to themselves and just allow you to spend yours. It's like a Mr. Krabs mentality. So it's like they'll want to eat, they'll want to enjoy the festivities, but they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to have anything to do with paying for these festivities. So it's like they'll find a way to join you, but it's going to be on you. They will not help chip in for that bill oftentimes. Also, they will, so this is narcissistic persons with limited resources, and even the ones who have a lot of resources will spend money to get the glory. They love spending money to get the glory and appear as the big spender in public. And that's only while others are watching. But then when they get home behind closed doors, it's like it will be a total struggle to get them to give. They are going to be so selfish They will not be generous, and they will neglect your needs. For example, this person could like go to the mall. You guys go to the mall and go shopping together, and it's like, let's say you tell them, I really like this. I really like this. Oh, I really want this. Or, what you think? Or, can you afford to give me this? They might ignore that request. They might not get it, or they might tell you, oh, I'll get it for you later, some other time. But then they'll get you something that you don't need or that you didn't ask for. So you'll be like, okay. I didn't really want that belt. I didn't want that belt that you just purchased for me. And then they'll try to act like you're ungrateful if you don't take it. So if they do purchase something for you, it might be something that you don't really need, or you don't necessarily want, or you didn't ask for. The things that you are asking for, those are not the things that they are going to purchase for you when you go out and go shopping. Or if you're even shopping online, whatever. However, when you guys are out in public and they're portraying to be a big spender, so oftentimes they're being a big spender on themselves, not you necessarily, or even the kids for that matter. So they'll do things like, when they'll go shopping and, pull out this wad of money, or run up the credit cards and make it seem like we big balling over here. And then when you get home and you tell them the baby needs diapers, and the baby's getting low on milk, you know what they're going to say? Basically, they're just going to get an attitude. They're going to get an attitude, and they're going to act like they did not hear that need exists. So when it's time to take care of business and to focus on the things that are really needed, they are not going to want to give. They don't want to give towards the needs. They don't want to give towards the things that don't kind of like result in public admiration and public, where they seem like they're just the big spender. They seem like they're so generous, and they seem like they're a good person. If it's a man, a good father, a good husband, a good spouse. But just in general, those are the types of things they're going to do when it comes to the needs. They want to neglect the needs, but the wants are priorities, except for the things that you want. So don't forget, if you've been eyeing this perfume for a whole year, you might not get that perfume today. Now, they might go buy themselves some Louis, Gucci, Versace, all kinds of cologne. But for you, you're not getting that $150 perfume that you've been eyeing. So for an example, I'm just going to share, they can come into a lump sum of money, okay? And instead of offering to help pay up the bills, help take care of the things in the house that will kind of just give you guys a little bit of extra money and leeway, basically what they'll do is they'll say things like, let's go out of town. Let's go out of town. And then we'll come back broke, and we will not hear and they will not be able to help with anything upon your return back from out of town. So they will suggest, let's do something frivolous with this money. And it's like, man, let's say if you haven't been out of town in a little while, it sounds exciting. It sounds like, yeah, I need a trip. I need a trip away. I need to get away. So it seems like a good idea, right? But like I said, instead of helping you buy groceries, or instead of helping you pay some bills, getting things caught up, they're not going to take care of those type of needs. The only thing they want to do is go out and spend that money, have fun, have pleasure, and come back to a household that has no food. Maybe the lights are getting ready to get cut off. That's the type of life that they live. The next thing, as I shared earlier in the video, they give and take. It's purely transactional. So they give just to receive. It's never, just because I really, really love you and I'm doing this out the kindness of my heart. Typically, there's a motive behind it. They will give to you as long as there is a great reward in it for them. As long as there's something that they're going to receive, or a future favor that they can ask for, they will be happy to oblige, certain requests that are not just too large. But one thing I will say is that they know that things are going to get really tough for you, if your need is not met. And the bad thing about it is they will watch you sink like quicksand. That's what's so sad. They will watch you. They can have resources, or they can know I'm going to get paid on Friday, but they're not worried about your needs. They're not worried about what you're worried about. They're not worried about making sure that this household is necessarily staying afloat or thriving. It's just, it's like you're in this by yourself. So once again, I just want to emphasize, remember that they are not your partner. They are your opponent. They are envious of you. And when somebody is envious of you, they don't want to see you with anything. They don't want to see you win. So I just wanted to say, you know, I remember when I was like in a narcissistic relationship once again with this person from the past. And, you know, my son needed school clothes really bad. And all I could say is that, you know, I thought for sure that maybe this person might help me because they were waiting for like a student loan check. They were gonna get like a student loan refund, and I think it was gonna be, you know, some thousands. So I thought they might help me because I always helped them out. You know, I was always looking out for them. And one thing I will say is, you know, I didn't get like a lot of child support. That was not something I could depend on. I didn't live off of it. And I didn't have a lot of financial support from their father. So I just had to do what I had to do. So all I could say is that when the person received their check, they asked me to take them shopping because I had the car. They didn't have a car. They asked me, could I take them shopping? And this was a store that was very reasonable. Just want to say, very reasonable store, mind you. So I would just say, you know, unfortunately, they did not offer me anything. They did not offer a shirt, a pair of pants. They didn't offer anything for my child. And once again, it was, you know, back to school time. And I was thinking, well, you know, at least if they didn't offer me anything to help with my child's school clothes, maybe the least they could do is hand me some money for bills. They didn't do that either. Nope, they took their check. They were selfish. They shopped. They bought everything they wanted for themselves. And that was it. Also, you know, I would just say that at the time, I had a cousin who also was in school, and this cousin, you know, she was very generous and very kind. And at the time, because I was really going through, because I was taking care of this person, she blessed my child and, you know, bought him quite a few clothes and lots of things. She helped out, you know, with a few things. She didn't have to, but I'm just sharing that, you know, basically what happens is we make excuses for people when it's like when you're under the control of a narcissist, oftentimes you find yourself making excuses for them. You make excuses for their bad behavior. You make excuses for the selfishness. You make excuses for everything that they lack. Every way that they're mistreating you and they're intentionally abusing you, we tend to make excuses for that. And that's basically what I was doing. It's like instead of putting him out or not just because he didn't give me money from the school check, but instead of saying, you know, hey, you're not helping here, you're hurting, you have to go. I just continue to let this slide. I just let this go on until God said, you know, his time was up. I'll just say that. So let's get into sign number 3. Sign number 3 is they control your finances. This is basically when they pressure you to quit your job, stop working, or tightly control all your spending habits. Let's get in. Okay, so when they control your finances, this is when they will often badger you. I will just say, this type of narcissist will often badger you when they think that you are spending unnecessary money. This can be extremely prevalent, especially when you are in a marriage or if you have a child with a narcissistic person. If you all cohabitate, live in the same household, you're going to see those type of traits where they are constantly down your throat about spending money. And I just want to share a fast example. So one thing I would say is, once again, that same narcissistic person that I had living in my home at one time, once again, this person was contributing minimally. Like I already said, maybe some food, maybe some gas, really small things, but not much. I would say this to you. I was really going through financially, and honestly, it was so bad that it's like I could barely even afford to spend $20 on myself out of a pay period if I just, you know, paid all the bills, and what was left, my bills exceeded what I would have left. So one time, I think I went and bought like a $5 clearance item, from this really cheap store that we had at the time. And it's like if I bought anything for myself, they would jump down my throat with chastisement. And their favorite line was, "We got bills to pay." They was always yelling at me, "We got bills to pay." But for some reason, they weren't helping with any of these bills that they said we have to pay. So it's like they would clearly watch my pockets like a hawk, So I'm not telling them how much money I have, but what I'm saying is they're basically watching my spending habits. They're watching my pockets like a hawk, but they're not helping me. They're not coming to my rescue or my aid. They're not trying to help me solve any of these problems or situations. They're not alleviating anything, but they just want to make sure that I didn't treat myself and I didn't spend anything on myself too much. Also, what I want to say is especially with ladies, you have to be very, very careful when someone is quickly pressuring you and persuading you to stop working. They're trying to convince you that they will supply all your needs, so you will foolishly rely on them. Now, here's the thing. I am definitely not talking about a good man. I'm not speaking of the good husbands, and I'm not speaking of any man that is a provider for his woman, his wife, or his family. I'm only speaking of narcissistic persons with an evil demonic spirit that trick women into quitting their job just so they can lose everything. Basically, they want to pull the rug from under you. So that's who I'm speaking about in this example. So it's like, if you do rely solely on their support, you will be abused and you will suffer a great deal. Honestly, they're going to belittle you. They're going to say how you would be nothing without them. They're going to make up lies and stories and say how you're just using them for their money. You just want them for their resources, when you have been working your whole life. You were working all the way up until, even after you met them, and even after you all got into a relationship, and sometimes you get into a marriage, and then they want to force you to stop working and say, I'm going to supply everything. I'm going to take care of you. But then when you go to ask them for money to meet little needs, even small needs, it's like it's a problem. They got an attitude, or you're spending too much money. Why are you spending so much of my money? So those are the type of things that they do. Also, they like to use money as punishment tactics, such as making you adjust to minimizing your purchases. So let's say you have to purchase groceries or goods for the home. They're going to have you operating within really, really strict, rigid limitations. Typically, it might be so strict or rigid that you don't have enough money to get all the items that you need on the list. That's typically something that they thrive in, is being real tight and controlling with the money. So, I will just say that you might not have enough money to even purchase goods for yourself sometimes. There might be things that you need, but you're just not able to do it. You're not able to meet those needs because they're treating you as if you are spending too much, and you're just too much. You're too needy. Just need too much. You're begging too much. When they begged you to stop working, but you're begging too much. They also, like I said, they make you beg, and they thrive in making you beg to meet basic needs. Also, it's like, it doesn't matter if you ask for amount of money that is great or small. What I will say is that they will tend to shame you. Sometimes they will shame you and just make it seem like, I said, you're way too needy. You're always begging. This could be for the children. It doesn't matter what it is. They just like to use shame against you, so you feel bad for asking. And then that's another way of stealing your voice. So then you don't ask. So then you're hesitant. You just sit there with your needs unmet. Your family, your friends are like, what's going on? Why didn't she just say she didn't have the money to join us for lunch today? That they're just wondering, what's going on with you? You've changed so much. Also, when they control the finances, controlling the finances is another advantage that they will have to blindside you. So when you have little to no access to the real financial outlook, you will not even know if the money's running out. You won't know what's really going on. You don't know if they're sitting on a gold mine. You have no idea. But it is a way for them to blindside you. Blindside you. Also, they thrive in keeping your name off of joint assets such as properties, cars, bank accounts, and more. They thrive in keeping your name off of any kind of important asset. And if you are not in a marriage, you're pretty much going to be left with nothing, especially when you're not in a marriage. It can be really tough. Also, when they leave you, they like to leave you with little to no resources to survive on, especially in the event of a split or a divorce. So if you are going through a divorce with them, they typically are so evil and malicious about money that they leave you with little to nothing to survive off of. Like if it's credit cards, they might shut your access off to the credit cards, like all sorts of things. And I will just say for myself that I'm very grateful that I have not been in a marriage with a narcissist. But this is a common trait when they are trying to avoid paying child or spousal support. They will try to make you look like a lazy, entitled person that was always after their money and their resources and after their power and fame. You've always just been the user that, wanted them for what they could do for you, when that's not the case. You've been nothing but good to them. You've had their back and you've been their greatest support. So I just want to say, typically, those are some things that happen when you are splitting with the narcissist. Let's go into sign number 4. Sign number 4 is status seeking. This is where most narcissists have superiority complex. They like to be better than everyone. It's so ridiculous. However, they want to be surrounded by highly successful people that make them make them look good. They want to be around people that have great things going on for themselves so they look good. They always want to be around beautiful things, beautiful people, beautiful things, because they want to be highly admired. So basically, as most of you all know, they love power and prestige and to have some great accomplishments. So the people, from the people that they praise and admire. So it's like, that's a really big deal to them to always get praise and honor and glory. They love to accomplish great things because they just know that more and more people are going to be patting them on the back. They're going to constantly be hearing, "You're so great. Oh my God, you did such an awesome job. You're amazing, and your family is so lucky to have you." Like those type of things. That's the type of stuff they thrive in. A lot of them desire to be in a crowd at all times. Maybe not the ones that are very recluse and socially awkward. That the crowd thing may not be for them. Also, they like to partner with people that are highly sought after and valued. They often choose women who are considered baddies or someone that appears to be out of their league. So if they're really handsome, they're really attractive, they're really handsome, they're definitely going to have a beautiful woman on their arms at all times. And even if they are not as attractive, they typically aim for people that are out of their league. They want somebody that just makes them look like, "Woo, man, did you see her? Wow, did you see his wife, or did you see his girlfriend? He has the baddest woman on the block, or whatever. He's got the baddest Instagram model." That's the type of things that they thrive in. Also, they love to look down on other people and make it, anybody that they deem is less than them or not on their level. They thrive in looking down on those type of persons. Also, when they are around successful people, it makes them feel like they are just as important. They feel like they are just as important and just as successful as that person that they're around. So like, for example, and even if they don't have the same lifestyle, let's just say somebody's hanging out around LeBron. They feel like they're LeBron for the night. They feel like, "I'm LeBron. Yeah, I'm in his entourage. I'm him too. I'm that guy," even though they're not that guy. So these are just examples of things they do when they're status seeking. Also, they typically love for their partner to be financially affluent or independent and successful. This is because behind closed doors, like I said, I alluded to earlier, they're really selfish. They don't want to meet your needs. They're selfish. Therefore, they don't want you relying on their resources, period. They do not want you to be begging and relying on their resources behind closed doors. So they have to have somebody that is independent, financially affluent, and has things going really good for themselves. Also, they pretend in front of other people like they are spoiling you. "Oh, she's so spoiled. She gets whatever she wants." But truthfully, you're paying for it all. You're thinking, yeah, I am getting whatever I want because I've been buying all my bags. I've been buying my clothes. I've been buying everything. I've been paying for the house. I've been paying for the bills. But in public, they put on a facade like she gets whatever she wants. Look at her. She's got that Louis bag over there. And you're thinking, yep, I paid for it, but you just don't want to bust them out. Those are some examples of things that they're doing when they seek status. Let's get into number 5. Sign number 5 is they make the dumbest, and I do mean the dumbest, mistakes with money. A lot of narcissists blow their money on the most frivolous things, oftentimes just to flex. They will blow their money on the dumbest things on the planet. So let me just say, the ones with limited resources, let me just talk about them. They are actually some of the most unwise people with money on the planet. Most unwise on the planet with their spending habits is all I can say. Basically, they will often spend their money on anything that will make them feel like they are better than others, just to flex. Their image is everything to them. It's so important to them. So they have to look like they're pretending as if they have something in front of other people. Even if behind closed doors, all this stuff is going to be repossessed. They have to pretend like they have something just in front of other people so other people can praise them, admire them, and just, wow. They want others to be envious of them and be like, woo, he got it going on. Did you see his car? Did you see his outfit today? Did you see the house? Like, they want you to think, man, I got it going on. But truthfully, they will purchase all of these items but can barely afford them. They will have a flashy car that they can barely afford. It's all about having something for other people to envy and admire, because they have to be the best at all times. Also, so I would just say, for example, when they start getting money, instead of making wise investments like purchasing a home, they might purchase a flashy car. They might purchase the car that they always wanted. Like, for example, maybe they always wanted a Tesla. They're going to go ahead and get that Tesla right away before getting a home, because driving around in style is way more important than making the investment of purchasing a home. They'll buy jewelry, they'll take lavish vacations, and it's all with hopes that somebody else will envy them, envy their lifestyle. Then they get on social media and brag that these people, ends are just broke out here, and people are just broke, and, they wish they had a life like me, and, they wish they could do it like me, but they just can't. That's the type of things that happen. Also, I will just say that they can know that, once again, an important bill or an important need needs to be met, and even the rent, doesn't matter what it is. And when they get their money, they typically, once again, always take care of their needs first. Their needs, their wants, their desires always comes first before paying all the bills. It comes first before taking care of all the needs. They thrive in getting a reaction from you also as well when because they secretly like to watch you suffer. So they really thrive in getting a reaction from you. So when you are like so mad, you're like on wit's end with this person. You're like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe that, they spent the bill money frivolously at the strip club or balling and flossing, whatever it is. They will secretly thrive in watching you suffer. They know that basically, they know it's sad, but they're happy when you experience adversity. So when you're going through, and they know that they could have helped you, they could have helped prevent the situation. They could have prevented the repossession. They could have prevented the disconnection. They could have even prevented the eviction filing, but they won't do it. They will not. They will not help. They will sit there and watch you suffer and let you try to figure it out. And when you ask for their help, they have a bunch of excuses why they just can't do it right now, or they got something going on. Their money's tied up. It's tied up. And also, I will just say that, once again, they always typically, when they come into lump sums of money, they typically spend it extremely, and I do mean extremely quickly. They blow it real fast, flossing, buying clothes, drug habits, and more. Also, I just wanted to share an example. So here's an example of one of my narcissistic exes. I would just say that this person had an extreme shopping addiction. He had an extreme addiction to buying an excessive amount of shoes and clothes. He was always fly. He always looked good. You know, he was just a fly dude. You know, he just had that swag. He was always looking nice. People were always highly attracted to him because he always looked nice, right? You know, stay clean, stay fresh. However, the problem is he couldn't truly afford these items. He couldn't afford all this stuff he was buying. Unfortunately, most of these shoes and clothes that he was purchasing in excess will wind up going back to the consignment shop for sale, because when he's in between pay periods, he couldn't afford to make it to the next pay period because he had spent all his money shopping. So it's like he might get to wear the item one time, and it's like his poor money management skills, you might not see him in that outfit again, but you just be like, man, that dude, he got it. Like, he got it going on. He got the clothes, he got the shoes, but you ain't gonna see him in that again sometimes because he couldn't afford to keep everything. And that's the thing about poor money management skills. Most narcissistic persons with low resources, let me point that out, not the ones that are rich, not the big ballers, but the ones with poor, that are poor and they have low to limited resources. They're typically bad with money. They're typically poor money management persons. So let's get into number 6. They typically create a financial crisis. This is where they ensure that some sort of obstacle is always occurring so that they are at a deficit to need your help. They're going to constantly be in need of your help because they're always going to be in a deficit. This typically happens because they thrive in self-sabotage. They typically self-sabotage themselves and they intentionally disable their productivity. So it's like there's a lot that they could do. Their potential to earn or their potential to, you know, really be stable sometimes is there, but they just won't do it, you know, for whatever reason. It's like they return to the hole of self-sabotage. So when it's time to handle business, such as starting a new job that will better their lives or increase their assets in your home, they typically do things to sabotage themselves. Like they'll lose their ID, so they can't start work. Either they can't get hired, or they can't cash the check, they can't start the job because they lost it. They'll lose social security cards, they'll lose important documents. It's like anything to hinder them from being productive and to be financially efficient. They like to self-sabotage themselves from doing things that really will better their lives. Also, the ones who are underemployed do things such as wait until the last minute to seek an opportunity that someone recommended for them. So like, let's say you're like, oh, such and such is hiring over here, and they started $35 an hour, and they be like, oh, good looking out. Okay, bet, I'm gonna apply. You could remind that person, remember so-and-so told you to apply for this job. They're hiring, and they're starting at $35 an hour. They'll say, yeah, I know, I heard them. I'm gonna get to it. Yep, I'm gonna apply. I'm gonna fill that out soon. And you know, you might just kind of like stay on their case, like, dang, you know, I've been reminding them, they just won't apply for the job. So what they'll do, they'll let a whole month go by, might even let 2 months go by. They'll wait until it's been so long, now the job ain't hiring no more. They're not hiring no more. They're not looking for anybody. And then that's when they want to say, yeah, I went and tried. They said they wasn't even hiring. And you be thinking, yeah, because you waited 2 months to go try out for the job. Of course, they're not hiring anymore. It's like, it's just crazy. They find excuses basically to not seek gainful employment and better themselves. And they will blame you and other people for their deficits and stagnation. So if they're not doing well, they will find a way to blame you. It's your fault. It's your fault that they're not doing well. Also, they intentionally overspend and put themselves into worse situations because it's like they know that they're going to have to come and ask you for something. They'll do things such as spend their money. They'll spend their last. I'm talking about their last on something like cigarettes, weed, other drugs, other substances, alcohol. They'll put themselves in a circumstance where they are going to be financially dependent on you, and they'll do things like spend all their last and not have enough gas money to get to work. So they won't have enough gas money to last them to get to work and make it, knowing that they don't get paid for maybe, let's say 7, it could be 7+ days. They know that they don't get paid again, and they spent the very last of their money on their wants and their needs. And then what they do is they catch an attitude. So then they'll catch an attitude because you won't help them. So like, let's say you know that this person's supposed to be at work today and they know they don't have no gas money, but they know that you told them last time, don't ask me for no gas money again. Now, if you didn't spend all your money shopping and, doing this, buying, weed, cigs, whatever, don't ask me for no gas. They'll sit around being all pouty. You ask them, what's wrong? What's wrong? I thought you're supposed to be at work. Are you heading to work? I'm not going to work. I'm not going today. And you'll be like, okay, well, like what's going on? What's up with the attitude? I just asked, where you going to work? Because usually you leave by this time. Yeah, I don't have it right now. I don't have it. And you'd be like, okay, you don't have it, or you don't have gas money, and then you start asking them, can they borrow from somebody? And, then they go on talking about how they can't borrow from anybody. And, it just becomes one of those situations where if you don't step in, they can't go to work. Now they can't work. They can't get to the job. Then they'll say, well, I can't help you with any money, and don't expect nothing on payday because you wouldn't even help me get gas to get there. Like, it's those type of manipulation tactics that they like to use to continue getting your resources while they spend theirs frivolously and just do whatever they want with their resources. And then I just wanted to share a fast example of a narcissistic ex that I was dealing with. Let me just say this. It had gotten so bad with their brokenness or brokenness that it had gotten so bad they even started asking to borrow money from my son. That's how bad it got. My son was working a little fast food job, okay, at the time. I think he was still in high school, working a fast food job that was not paying very well. He didn't work a lot of hours, and I would just say he just had enough money to, meet some of his own needs, but nothing too big. This person was going behind my back basically and asking to borrow money from my son. So they had already placed their loan through me. Let me just preface that. They had already put their loan request in through me. They were borrowed out from me. So then they start going to my son. And it's like that was like an additional loan. Their check was already borrowed out. So it's like, one thing I can say is that narcissistic persons with low to limited resources love being around people that are blessed. They love being around people that are blessed, and that people that have the hand of God on their life. They absolutely love it. They adore it. And, just to kind of get into a fast story, even about myself and borrowing money, one thing I want to say to you all before we get into sign number 7 is do not, absolutely, if you can avoid, do not borrow someone money every pay period. I messed around and I messed up. I got on a hamster wheel with this person and I couldn't get off. I, honest to God, could not get off the hamster wheel of borrowing with them until this relationship came to a halt. Until this relationship ended, I was stuck borrowing the money. I didn't have to. So here's the deal. They would always pay me back when they would get paid. But what I'm saying to you is how it puts you in bondage is it puts you on a hamster wheel with the person, okay? So what happens is, let's say you have had enough of this narcissistic relationship. Let's say you are planning, you're making your exit plan mentally. You're trying to figure out how to get them out of your home, or you're trying to figure out how to end this relationship, how to get them out of your life. You don't want to be with them anymore. If you have borrowed them money, you are going to find yourself staying a lot longer than you should have stayed, because what happens is you say, once I get my money back, they're gone. Once I get my money back, they're out the door. I'm ending this relationship. So what happens when you get your money back, you actually I'm going to say that person might treat you real nice that day. They might be in a super loving, kind mood, whatever. They paid you your money back. So first you got your money back, so you feel relieved. Every time the money's returned to you, you feel like, whew, that was close. Every time. So it's like, think about it. Why are you doing that? Why are you putting yourself in that situation to constantly be on a hamster wheel with someone who has borrowed from you? And if they were to not pay you back, you could be in a situation where you're operating at a deficit, that it could be a large enough amount to where you can't afford to miss it. You can't afford to miss that money. That's another thing. Don't borrow anybody anything that you can't afford to part with. You can't afford to miss. But I just want to definitely encourage people before we get into sign number 7, if you can evade, don't borrow a narcissistic person any money, and especially don't make it a habit of constantly borrowing to them, before their payday, in between their pay period. Because when I look back on it in hindsight, I never borrowed from that person, not one time. I can't even count one time that I asked them, could I borrow some money from them until the next pay period. So just think about it. If it's unequally balanced, it's not right. Sign number 7, and we are almost wrapped up. Career students. These are the narcissists that are highly educated. They're highly educated. They may have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, even a doctorate degree, but they never actually pursue a real career, a real promising career that their education will qualify them for. So they go to school, they do all this hard work, they earn these honors, they earn all this, accolades for being Dr. DDD, and guess what? They don't come out and get the job that they should have landed. They don't come out and actually apply that education to a lucrative career. So for example, one thing I will say, because I've been through this personally. I've had this experience with the narcissist in the past. When you are with a career student narcissist, you will be in financial limbo with them. And the reason why I say this is because you are going to be patiently waiting with anticipation for this person to complete their schooling so they can get a real good job and start making money. So it's like you're basically, I hate to say, almost like falling in love with potential, but it's like you're hoping that they walk into this promising career. Like you're just being patient, you're waiting because you're like, this is going to pay off. This is an investment, you feel like it's an investment. When they're done with school, they're going to do all the things they said they're going to do. We're going to have a happy marriage, a happy family. And the only problem is, you're waiting for this, but typically it involves a lot of setbacks. You're paying the bills, you're holding it down, you're doing all of your part and beyond, but unfortunately it doesn't pan out the way you planned, the way you hope for. I will say that this person may say that they're having trouble securing gainful employment, or exclaim how they have had a change of heart. They don't want to work in that field that they got all this education for. So now that they received this big degree, they don't even want a job in that field anymore. As a matter of fact, they don't even want to work in that field. They're ready to start over, go back to the drawing board. And just like, think about how discouraging that is, especially like if you are in a marriage with someone and you guys have a deal that they're going to go to school, they're going to get this great job, and you guys are going to be financially secure, and you are just so hopeful, you're waiting on that, and it just doesn't happen. Like, so try to identify when you're dealing with a career student narcissistic person. The other traits are still going to be present, but once again, they're just not going to go hard to pursue opportunities that could be available to them. They will shoot down any job postings that you suggest for them to apply for, and they'll only attend interviews just to purposely sabotage themselves from landing the job. So it's like, let's say you're giving applications, you're providing suggestions. Oh, they're hiring over here. Looks like this big company is hiring. They'll say things. You could say things like that to them, and they're like, yeah, I know, but yeah, I don't think that job, it's not good enough for me. And they'll have some excuse why they are above and beyond working for that job. They're above it. They're way too good for it. They don't need it, right? And all I could say is that within one of my previous narcissistic relationships, unfortunately, with a career student, he had a master's degree. This dude actually had 2 master's degrees, mind you. Okay. When I met him, he was almost done completing the second one. I mean, literally, he had like four months ago when we met. Okay. And we were also attending marriage counseling at the time, too. Premarital counseling. I'm sorry. Not marriage counseling, premarital counseling. And, I just kept thinking, once he completes schooling, he's going to land a great job and he's going to be able to start his career. Like everything is just going to go well. Like, that I was just really hopeful. I was really hopeful. And all I could say is that when I first met him, I had no idea that he was a career student. I had no idea that there was a strong possibility that he was not going to pursue the career that I thought he was more than eligible for, And all I could say is that we broke up before he could land that great job. We broke up, the relationship did not work out. And all I could say is, I'm thankful. I'm thankful and grateful to God, because sometimes what glitters, we all know what glitters is not always gold, but sometimes we're out here thinking that this person, hey, they have the potential to do all this. They have the potential to do all that, but they just don't perform, or they just don't do it. So I just wanted you all to be mindful. Anybody that's dealt with a career narcissistic person that's a career student, watch out for those signs. Let's tap into our very last sign today, and that is sign number 8. Sign number 8 is a financial curse comes upon you with them residing in your home. So all I can say to you is this is very complicated subject. Some people might say, no, that's not true. I didn't have a financial curse. I'm going to say, if you're dealing with a narcissistic person, once again, that has low to limited resources, I will always preface, every time that I move them into my home, everything came under attack. My finances came under attack. Sometimes my health came under attack. Everything came under attack. It's like things that shouldn't break down, they're always breaking down. And then what happens is every nickel and dime that comes to your hand has always got to go to something. It's always going to something unnecessary. It's going to an unnecessary car repair. It's going to, some medical bill. It's going to something that is like, man, I can't save a dime. That's what I'm talking about. It's like patterns of curses that come with them, because they're inhabiting a demonic spirit. And it's like that demonic spirit is in your home, it's in your bed, it's sleeping next to you every night. You're basically sleeping next to someone that's holding all these demons inside. I'm not saying you're not struggling with fighting your own demons, but they have some special demons that allow them to have a narcissistic spirit. And because of that, curses accompany them. And when they move into your house, you're going to watch your quality of life slowly but significantly decline. Like, I don't care if it's the bank account, your health, your wealth, your spiritual, your mental well-being will decline. Everything that was like, I'm going to say everything that was an asset, or everything that was, that you feel like you were doing really good, you were an asset when you first entered the relationship, things start to decline to the point where now it's like you don't have any more assets. Now you're operating at a deficit. Now you're barely making ends meet. You're barely above water. You're sinking like the Titanic. Also, I want to just mention that anytime 2 adults are residing together, 2 working adults in a relationship, in a marriage, you should always be growing and climbing and thriving financially. Everybody knows that 2 can live better than 1. So if there's 2 people there, but everything's sinking like the Titanic, everything's going wrong, the curse is prevalent, you have to reevaluate the situation. Something's not right here. Anytime there's 2 adults in the home, we're not building nothing, we're not growing, we're not saving, we're not coming up together. That means you're truthfully not going anywhere. You're actually going backwards. So you're actually, you know, you're being stagnated, and you're actually declining is what's happening. Also, I just want to also remind people that God is a progressive, forward God. One thing about God is that he is not within setback. He's not within backwardness. He's not within procrastination. And he's also not within stagnation. So you should always be thriving, always be climbing and building something together. You should see things get better. If you have someone in your life should always be on the uptick. You should be growing financially, spiritually, mentally. They should be healthy for you. This should be a good thing for you in your life. If those things are not happening, you are definitely in something unhealthy or toxic, and you need to reevaluate the situation. So I just want to thank you all for tuning in to Queendom Perspectives with Nina Michelle on today. I want to thank you for taking time to stop by my channel. I want to thank you and ask you before you leave today, if you were able to stay throughout the duration of this video, to take time to give me a like, to hit the like button, to please hit the subscribe button. And also, if you would like to leave me a comment, I would greatly appreciate it, and I would really love it if you would like to leave a comment. Also, if you have any questions, or if you want to ask me or talk to me about a different issue about narcissism, you can feel free to contact me at the email address that was in the intro. It's also in the more part of my bio. So I want to thank you and encourage you to be blessed in Jesus' name, and to encourage you to always get closer to God. Whatever you do, take this time in your life to evaluate your relationships and to take this time to get closer to God. God bless you. Have a great day.